On June 24th, 1941, the Germans are advancing with good speed as Operation Barbarossa has caught the Soviets off guard. While the Soviets scramble to regroup and launch an effective resistance wherever they can, there are outstanding shows of bravery during this period of chaos for the Soviets. One in particular shines out when a single KV tank and its brave crew hold back an entire German panzer group at the Battle of Rozani. The Battle of Rozani was a major tank engagement in the territory of modern-day Lithuania. The area had key river crossings which would be vital for the Germans to advance, but also to have efficient supply lines. The amount of tanks was massive for the time, with around 245 German tanks against 749 Soviet tanks. Now the Soviets had a major advantage in the fact that they fielded the mighty KV tanks, which the Germans lacked any efficient way to deal with. But with the help of the Luftwaffe knocking out communications and providing close air support, they were able to destroy superior tanks even when outgunned and outnumbered. A real testament to the Germans' efficient tactics. But one KV would balk against this rule and stand defiant and cause a major headache for the German forces. The KV in question could have been either a KV-1 or a KV-2. I lean more towards a KV-1 with its rate of fire having been described by German testimonies, so we'll settle on the KV-1 for this video. Now this KV was positioned on a crossroads outside a small village 2 days into the battle on the 24th of June. It was spotted when a supply convoy accidentally drove into its field of fire and had to flee when they came under intense fire from machine guns and tank cannon. Now General Oberst Erhard Rouse believed at first this was the start of a major Soviet tank counterattack, whilst the general pondered another unfortunate supply convoy with fuel and troops was unaware of the lone KV. And as they approached the crossroads, the KV unleashed its cannon and machine guns, destroying the convoy, leaving 12 trucks destroyed and burning, and its passengers fleeing to safety. The Germans had now figured out it was just a single KV tank, and this is backed up by local villagers who remembered the event. It is not known if the KV stopped at the crossroads on purpose or suffered a mechanical failure, as a single tank standing against a whole panzer group was suicidal but very brave. I lean more towards that the tank had a mechanical failure, as a single KV crew, even though brave and probably wanted to stop the Germans, would have been more efficient if they had linked up with more armour or infantry support. So I've kind of settled that the KV did suffer a mechanical failure at the crossroads and was basically stuck in position there. The KV was but a single tank, but its position gave it great fields of fire over key supply roads to the German troops in Rozani, and it had to be destroyed as the German troops and tanks, after days of hard battle, were in desperate need of resupply for fuel, ammo, and medical supplies. So their first plan was to use the Pak-38 with its 50mm anti-tank shells to fire upon the KV. The battery of several Pak-38s peppered the KV for a few minutes, from around distance estimated to be about 500-700 metres, but with little effect, as unless point blank with APCR shells, they had very little chance of punching through the KV's heavy armour. And after some time, the steel monster came to life. Its turrets turned, and it fired upon the battery of the Pak-38s, destroying them. The KV showed it would not be as simply swatted away like the lighter tanks, and a real heavy blow would be needed to kill this Soviet steel beast. The day dragged on, and the KV crew sat there in their tank. They must have been melting as the sun shone bright, and it was basically a heat magnet in these conditions. But it was time for the next challenge, and the Germans would throw something new at it. Now they attempted to use a 105mm artillery piece to knock out the tank with its powerful HE shells. But due to the weapon's firing arc, and it was a rather cumbersome weapon, meant to bombard the enemy from a distance, not to direct fire at them, it was seen as too dangerous to engage it with the 105mm. So now the Germans turned to the mighty Flak 88mm, which had become the Germans' go-to weapon for tank killing, especially when faced with heavy vehicles such as the French Char B. So the 88mm was positioned around 700 metres away from the KV tank, but due to the 88mm's large size and the fact that it needed to be dug in to be effective, as it was more of a defensive weapon, not particularly effective on the assault, these factors meant the KV spotted the 88mm and engaged it, knocking the gun out and sending the crew fleeing for their lives. Another failed attempt, and the Germans were now getting frustrated with the tank and its super stalinium armour. So as the sun dropped and the night crept in, the Germans turned to their pioneer forces to try to knock out the KV tank. So a squad of these veteran troops who specialised in engineering and demolitions crawled up to the tank. A nerve-wracking mission for sure, as the KV had a main gun that was 76.2mm and multiple DT machine guns dotted around, with one also at the rear of the turret. A strange design, but it had a very efficient use in a situation when troops were attempting to surround the tank. So as the pioneers got close to the tank, they were spotted, and the crew repelled them with small arms and grenades. Accounts vary, but it is said that the pioneers' explosive did make contact with the KV, but did little more than cause the crew inside some earache. Another failed attempt, and another win for the KV and its crew, with their spines that were clearly made of stellinium as well. These guys were true kind of hardcore tankers, I must say, because normally when faced with this kind of much of assault, the tank crew would normally abandon the tank on either side of the force. So the fact that they stayed in it and carried on fighting is insane bravery, and I've got to say, massive respect for that, I have to say. With time creeping on and the Germans needing to advance, and also if High Command heard that an entire panzer force, backed up with infantry and artillery, was being held back by a single KV, it would probably not spell well for these officers' future careers. So a new plan began, with multiple panzers, most likely Panzer 38Ts and Panzer 3s, were used to distract the KV from a distance and skirmish with the steel brute at a distance, as to limit the risk of losing any more tanks to it. As the crew of the KV were distracted, an 88mm was moved into a nearby wooded area to the rear of the tank. Now the 88mm unleashed its mighty shells into the KV, scoring many hits, but still many seemed to also bounce off the beast. But the tank did fall silent, had it finally been given the death blow. Now the German infantry immediately approached the KV. A mix of fear and excitement must have filled their veins, as they expected the tank. As they got closer, they saw many large holes were spotted to the rear of the KV. The 88mm had penetrated the beast, and now it was silent. But then all of a sudden the turret began to turn. The German troops ran in all directions, but one brave soul placed a grenade right through the damaged hull of the KV. It detonated, finally killing off the rest of the crew. The KV had finally been neutralised, but it had taken a Herculean effort to kill a single lone tank, a true testament to the toughness of the KV series of tanks. Now the Germans were free to move forward with their operations, but the tank crew received a full burial and had graves set up by the Germans. A sign of respect from soldier to soldier, as the crew had shown such bravery and determination in the face of such odds. There is still a memorial to these brave tankers in the Rezine area, with the names Yershov P.E, Smirnov V.A, one set of single initials SH.N.A, and 3 unknown warriors. I must say I truly admire the bravery of these Soviet tankers, and I believe they showed great, heroism and spines of steel. And really, they should have been given the Hero of the Soviet Union medal. That was I believe, the highest military honor at the time. Now I believe it would be the Hero of the Russian Federation medal if they backdated it. So maybe one of you viewers have any contacts in Russia, we can push for that, because their courage not only outshone many others, but it also held up the Germans' advance for a full day. And that probably allowed thousands of troops to regroup and actually have a chance to fight against the Germans' advance. So it may only seem like a small engagement in a single tank, but those hours they bought, that's 24 hours at least, probably is magnified exponentially given how much chaos the Soviet forces were in. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you enjoyed the story. Multiple sources were used, so obviously if I got anything wrong, do tell me in the comments. Always happy to amend stuff. And I hope you, if you really enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take it easy. Just a note at the end of the video, so looking further in, obviously there are people saying it could have been a KV-2 at Rezine, not a KV-1. Now, I looked at some German testimonies, and the fire rate to me kind of makes sense that it would be a KV-1, because engaging the KV-2 had a very slow, obviously, fire rate, because it was a 152mm main gun. It was basically a howitzer in the turret. So when it engaged the convoy of trucks, there's no way that thing would be able to hit every truck without them fleeing in time, because it took out 12, whereas the 76.2mm had a far better fire rate, and obviously with the MGs included. So it does feel more to me that it would be a KV-1. Now, some people also say said there was 6 crew instead of the standard KV-1's 5. Now, they could have picked up an extra man, someone could have squeezed in there. We don't know if they picked up a passenger on the way or if there was something to do with that. It's kind of, it's basically not going to be known, but I settled that as KV-1. If anyone can prove that it was a KV-2, feel free to do so. That'd be great. But I just thought I'd add this at the end of the video because obviously I'd like to be as truthful as possible. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope that amendment helps. Take it easy.